Right, hi everybody. I'm afraid you're going to get a little coffee video because some people have asked how I'm getting on with my restored Astoria lever machine. And I wanted to first of all point out that I am not an expert barista or coffee maker, but I like coffee. I was lucky enough to get to London Coffee Festival at the weekend and I found this, which is interesting. TCC coffee roasters. I bought some. They served me an espresso made from this. It's an Ethiopian natural process roasted for espresso. And what kind of made me interested in this one is it's got some nice flavours of lighter roasted coffees, and it's got this more syrupy texture and mouthfeel of a much darker roasted coffee. At least the shot that they gave me had. And that kind of, I like sometimes, because as I say, coffee is a bit of a science, it's a bit engineeredy, and they gave me a reference point. Can I get close to that on this machine, knowing that I've got a coffee that, you know, can achieve that? I think when you're on a steep learning curve, is what you need to do sometimes, establish a sort of a reference point or an aiming point. And so that's what we're doing. They told me they were running 2-to-1. So I'm aiming for 15 grams in, 30 out as a starting point, and I'll just pre-warn you, I've already had a couple of goes at this just to get my weight and time coming out about right. As we'll find out later in the process, I was making some errors. People said to me, a lever machine, and I looked on YouTube, you know. I did my YouTube research, all the coffee gurus on YouTube. Yeah, lever machines, incredibly forgiving. Pull the best shots, you know, it'll be sweeter, it'll be this, it'll be that. First impressions are that it don't really matter if you've got a reasonably good machine. It doesn't matter what type of machine it is, you still got to get the basics right to make good coffee. There's no miracle way around that, and that's true of most things in life. And as we'll see later in the video, I was getting some things wrong, and making coffee is a steep learning curve. If you've started out on that journey, espresso anyway, you'll know this by now. Sometimes things have just got to be right, and if you're not an expert, it seems like the moon and the stars have to be correctly aligned as well. But it's kind of like everything, satisfying to persevere and, you know, occasionally get where you want to be. So I've started, I'm keeping every shot the same here. I'm doing 10 seconds of pre-infusion with the lever down. That just exposes the puck to the boiler pressure. Lever up, pressure goes up to around 9 bar and gradually declines as the spring releases. I think that might be where some people have perceived that these machines are more forgiving, because you won't see, even with a naked portafilter, the channeling at the end of the shot so badly if you haven't got things right. So maybe that's where the, you know, these machines are incredibly forgiving came from. This is not quite right. I had to put some weight on the lever at the end there to avoid it, you know, running too fast. Probably was getting some channeling at the end of the shot. It's just not so evident on these machines. Anyway, a stir and a taste. There's a lot of flavours in there that I like because the coffee is very good, but there's a slight harsh aftertaste like you get from an under extracted coffee, or from some of the coffee in there being under extracted and acidic. So we are going to have another crack at this with a finer grind, and spoiler alert, that didn't work either, so keep watching. Right, have another crack at it. I'll sped this up a bit, grinding ever so slightly finer. This is where I get a little bit, I start to struggle a little bit. What do I do to make it better? I don't know, I'm just going to try again with a slightly finer grind and see what happens. At least using the naked portafilter I can see when things start to go wrong. So let's spoiler alert, there was a problem with this shot that I'll show you. Alright, I'll show you this because it was a failure. I disturbed the coffee bed before I tamped it with my finger because it didn't look well distributed. It's one of those things, wrong from the first moment. Anyway, my pre-infusion time is up, lever's up, and I could tell straight away all was not well. And just grab the phone there, and you can see not good, no good at all. It's also a very young, freshly roast coffee, and there's a lot of CO2 in it, so if you don't get it right, it goes horribly wrong. Okay, so I need to do something different, change something. Things have been wrong with all the shots so far. I'm going to take the grind back to where it was, because going finer seems to get me more channeling. And I haven't got one of those fancy distribution tools that people are raving about now, but I'm going to stir it with a sharp stick, because I have to do something. If that doesn't work, I'm going to get expert help, because I'm wasting good coffee here. So yeah, as I said, this has been a very, very steep learning curve, this machine. But I think I would be having the same problems doing this, trying to dial this particular coffee in on a pump machine, because it's relatively gassy. It's a light roast. It's a little bit of a challenge. But, you know, you've got to persevere with these things sometimes and waste a bit of coffee. Speed up the boring bit. I'm giving the coffee bed a good declump and a good stir, and getting it really level and evenly distributed before I attempt to tamp it. I don't like this, it's a faff, but like I said, got to try something. In the name of science, everything else is the same. Tiny flush, portafilter in, start timer, start pre-infusion, wait 10, lever up. Alright, and straight away I can tell it's better. And I'll give you a little shot of that. That is far better. I think there is still some unevenness here, but it's all better, much better, and it looked alright. Even got some tiger striping there. Right, even after stir, there's still some crema. It was getting close to what was served to me at the coffee festival. I'm really pleased with that. It ain't quite there. I could have ground a little finer, done the same distribution. Might try that tomorrow. But as I said, this is a very, very steep learning curve. If you're thinking of buying a lever machine, I love it. You get some feel for what you're doing, as well as the, you know, trying to have some precision about it. But don't just, you know, take what you've seen on YouTube as read, that, you know, they're forgiving, they'll pull you an amazing coffee just like that, because you still got to get everything right. As we've seen here, my error, you know, with this coffee was in the distribution. It's very critical with some coffees. I may invest in one of those fancy distribution tools, I don't know, we'll see how we go. A lot more learning to do, but thanks for watching, and, you know, thanks for letting me indulge my little coffee passion there, and we'll be back to airplanes soon, I promise.